To get more insight on this, we're joined by Rahul Sharma. He's the manager, director and founder of Neev Capital. Rahul, thank you so much for joining us. It's a tough environment out there for luxury brands, because if you have something that's desirable that people want, you sell it in these difficult economic times. If you don't, then you get lambasted. Burberry, did it lose its way, or is it really an effect of Chinese demand slowing a touch?
Well, I think if you go back to a month or so, there was a lot of fear that basically Burberry talked about a really broad-based slowdown and a sudden dip in terms of its business. And everyone assumed that basically the whole sector's coming off the rails, China's going to the dogs and what have you. And actually now, if you look at this a little bit more closely, the business has actually picked up once again near the end of September. These numbers were slightly better than expected. And therefore, I think, but nonetheless, what is clear when you look at these numbers is, in the light of very strong numbers from Hermes, in the light of very strong numbers from Richemont, from Dior, from Prada, over the last month or so, it's quite clear Burberry has actually lost significant market share as well, and that's perhaps a bigger reason. One of the problems, or rather one of the solutions they talked about at that point, was we need more newness, we need more colour in terms of product, and I suspect that's a bigger issue. There were specific product issues here rather than a huge sector-based meltdown.
Yeah, because all luxury products aren't created equal. You may not like a current collection for Burberry and like it the next month, and I guess Burberry was a different model to some of the other luxury brands, is that it also franchised a lot. We're seeing it clawing back to make sure that it has full control of its shops, of its fragrances. Will that make a difference?
I think so. I think it's something that all these brands are trying to do. They're trying to seek control of all their different channels, be it different geographies which they previously franchised out, be it products that they previously franchised out, in a way that they can control the whole image much better and therefore give a consistent image to the consumer. I think what you're seeing in luxury almost is quite bifurcated. It is the fact today that the Chinese themselves are becoming much more discerning about what they buy as well. This is no longer a tide that's floating all boats. You know, brands that have the legacy, brands that are more iconic, more exclusive, a bit more discreet, are doing really well with the Chinese. Bottega Veneta, Hermes, Dior are doing extremely well. Whereas things that have become a little bit very common, or, you know, become more easily identifiable, perhaps suffering a little bit more. I mean, I just come back to the fact that luxury has to be scarce. For a product to be priced up quite significantly, you have to offer that extra special something to the consumer. And that's what Burberry need to do. I mean, even today, they're talking about the higher priced product, again, which isn't just straightforward check or straightforward logo product, is actually selling quite well. Where they're struggling a little bit is where perhaps some of the mainstream product needs a bit more excitement.
Is that why you like Richemont? They have a lot of, you know, the watches that sell for £100,000, which are very exclusive, which are very difficult to make, and I guess which is based also on that history coming from Switzerland.
Very much so. I think the other thing that's perhaps underappreciated about names like Richemont is just how broad the array is of brands. I mean, you have Cartier, which itself is just a machine for that business. I mean, just the 200-year-old image, the aspirational values, and that allows it pricing power. But also this whole portfolio of watch brands that they have, ranging all the way from actually Cartier itself to Montblanc to Jaeger-LeCoultre to Vacheron Constantin. So a whole slew of not just very high price points, but a whole slew of price points across watches, but also very aspirational brands. And that's key, because the customer wants something that's different, and that allows that company to have more pricing power than its rivals.
And Prada, I guess, is doing the same thing in the collections, in the women's wear, but they have a designer, Miuccia Prada, who's always ahead of the curve, and so of course that's why it's so desirable.
You know what, I think Prada is perhaps one of the best kept secrets in luxury, and what Prada does extremely well is the amount of newness it brings. Every collection is almost 60–70% completely new, and there's a reason for you. I mean, not just every collection, every few months they have something completely new, so you want to go back into that store. You know, it's funny, I talk about luxury, but the closest parallel I draw to that is Prada's almost the Zara of the luxury world. The fact is, what does Zara do? Frequent new product almost every 2 weeks, you want to go back in. Prada's supply chain is now efficient enough that they can actually bring out this product, new product, makes you want to buy. It's new, so when it's gone, and therefore you're willing to pay up for it.
Very interesting. Rahul, thank you so much for joining us. Rahul Sharma, their manager, director and founder of Neev Capital. Now, it's Freeze Week in London, now in its